Hey, everybody. Coach Keith Keppner here. Just making sure that I am live versus going live. Cool. Sounds working, etc., etc. Remember, I'm doing these live streams on Mondays at 9:30 EST time, Eastern Standard Time, every 2 weeks. So the next one after today will be the 25th, the week of Thanksgiving. Awesome. Take a moment for any chats to roll in as we have Doug Jones versus Bob Foster playing over in the side box right there. Of course, what's up? What is up? Account Street. Boom. Good to see you in. I spent a good portion of earlier of part of the day going down to survey a possible gym flip. So I've been on the road a lot today and then rolled into the gym in Athens, took care of some things, trained some people, and now I'm blessed to be here with you awesome guys on YouTube. Greetings from Sleepy Hollow, New York. What is up, Stefan? Love the deep dive breakdown videos. Thank you, Stefan. I really appreciate that, my friend. Man, it's such a cool niche that I stumbled upon because, like many people, I start off doing the short, like super short videos, right? Thinking like, oh, like 2 minutes, 1 minute, right? That's all I need to do. Or people don't have attention for much more. And then in the past, 4 months ago, I did a long form video and it blew the hell up. And I was like, holy crap, I need to do a lot more of these. Hey, coach. Okay, here we go. Little Nava with a question. Hey, coach, what's some good ways to deal with a lengthy, quick southpaw or good combos? Lengthy, quick southpaw. Okay, so I'm assuming you're shorter than them, right? Since you're specifying they're lengthy. Let's work on walking them down. Look at how, I'm going to use them as an example. Man, Bob Foster just got decked there by Doug Jones. Sometimes people get really big on people, and so I hate to kind of use this example because it's like a stock example, but Gervonta Davis, watch how he walked down Frank Martin. Granted, Frank Martin was not a longer fighter, but you had those bad example. Both had the same stance, right? Because I'm like Frank Martin Southpaw, oh yeah, Gervonta Southpaw. But the way Gervonta walks down people like Santa Cruz, right? There you go. Doing that, but in an orthodox fashion, is very effective, basic way. Also, as well, to simply, if we could just cut down the ring, all right? There's really no secrets with the southpaws. In my opinion, you want to treat a southpaw like any other fighter. The only thing you need to consider is leg position, all right? But a straight left hand is a straight left hand, a straight right hand is a straight right hand, and a left hook is a left hook, a right hook is a right hook, all right? I'm not going to give you like boilerplate advice on that, but my biggest piece of advice is learn to treat these opposite stance or different stance people like they're anybody else, because they are anybody else. All the punches are largely the same. Ru Baba, you have made a video about short boxers and inside range boxing. Please make one detailing video for taller and outer range boxers. Oh, well, my friend. And he said, love you, coach. Love you too, my friend. Let me throw it in the chat. Okay. Boxing, tall, Keppner boxing. Let me throw in the chat because I made this video maybe just for you. Let me throw it in the chat. Boom. There it is. Right for you, Rubaba. Okay. High level stuff. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. And again, it takes someone of a high level or going to a high level to appreciate high level stuff, because, just to be super negative, sometimes I'll hear some nonsense online, as I'm sure you guys do as well. And you're like, man, what the hell? I saw some nonsense the other day and it was interesting. Woke up champ. Coach, how would I work up to be able to run up to 46 miles without overuse injuries? I can run 2 miles comfortably. As I try to do 3 to 4 miles the following day, my calf areas have sharp pain. It's a great question. It's a great question. A good investment is running shoes because that does have an effect. Now, how long have you been running for, Woke Champ? How long have you been running for 3 to 4 miles? Oh, well, here we go. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting warmed up, guys. Coach Keith had a long day. All right, Woke Champ. How many miles do you get in a week? All right. If you're getting in some miles consistently every day or every other day throughout the week, then you will get adapted to it. Okay, because oftentimes, sometimes some of these injuries come about by us trying to put too much into one, right? So what I mean by that is you run maybe once or twice a week and try to run 6 miles. That is how the body isn't able to. It doesn't have a constant enough stimulus to acclimate, right? So very important concept. All right, I get at least 10 to 15 miles a week. Oh, well, you just blew my answer out of the water, Woke Champ. So it's in your calves. Okay. Now let me ask you this: Is it? You said it's sharp pain. Sharp pain. That's something to get looked at. Is that something you feel when you box? Is that something you feel when you jump rope? Because that could be some type of underlying issue that, have you tried to take time off, right? There's a lot of things going into that. I don't have an exact answer for you, unfortunately. Maybe though, try trail running. Do you run on the roads, right? Try trail running a little bit softer. Again, look at shoes, and you look at running form. Or if you have some type of like tendon issue or muscular damage that you need rest from, you need rest from that, right? Those are the truthful answers there, my friend. Great question. And let's be clear, my specialty is not a physical therapy, right? Which is someone you should talk to, because it takes someone to know what you know to know what you don't know, right? Or whatever, right? You know what I mean? Been a long day for Coach Keith, as it is every day. But, it's like if people, when they ask me questions and they do like a lot of Muay Thai and stuff like that, I'm like, well, I'll tell you the boxing answer to that, but I'm not going to tell you the Muay Thai answer to that because I don't know about that, right? But I appreciate you, Woke Champ. And dude, get this stuff checked out, man, because it's not just like one thing that's important to remember, my friend, Woke Champ, just to stick on you, because I don't feel like I'm giving you everything that you need, is you will go to some people that will tell you, oh, well, dude, then you just can't run. Oftentimes that's bullshit. Unless you have some underlying health issues that are real solid issues, like I had Lyme disease, or like, you have big arthritic problems or some type of immune health issue. Some docs and stuff like that will tell you, oh, well, I guess you just can't run. Very seldom is that the case. Okay. You build into it, but you'll find other things like swimming. Just running is so helpful. Would you be able to do a video on the basic boxing stance and how to get into it, the amount of knee that should be over your toe, how much hip bend you should have, and torso position? That's a great question. It's funny, as I read that, like, it's 100%, there's a lot of great details to talk about that. And the caveat that I want to say in answering that question, Cosmic Politics, is that there's absolutely variance. So I just want to say that even before I make the video. But man, that's a great topic right there, because that's something that my dad spent a lot of time on. And I'm going to take a picture of that comment just so I can make sure I can remember it. All right. Love it. I'm starting to sink in my chair. All right. Any tips to improve confidence? Yes, improve competence, Nathaniel. Improve competence. That's how you'll improve confidence. I know that's a crappy answer, right? But it's the truth, right? Sometimes the truth is crappy. What do I mean by that? Continue to get better. As you get better, you will gain more confidence. Now, some other things to do while you get better, because you cannot avoid the work and doing the hard work, is things like visualization. Watch my whole video on visualization that I posted a while back, and watch that and do the stuff that I say to do in there. Okay. And then, like I said, competence equals confidence, or else it's false confidence. Let's see. let's see. Real human being. By the way, guys, drop me a super thanks. Appreciate these lives, guys. Like I said, I'm doing every 2 weeks. The next one's going to be the Monday, the week of Thanksgiving. And I appreciate everyone's support for these videos. Real Human Being 99 says, Coach, please make a long form video talking about body work. It's a subject I've been obsessed with, specifically the application of a shorter boxer using it to close distance and beat a long jabber. That's a good one. That's a great one. Happy to put that on the list. That's a good one. Because as we know, my last video I put on the anatomy of the jab was, a suggestion just like that, like Real Human Being 99 just gave. Little Nava. Try running backwards and walking treadmills backwards. That can be helpful. Yeah, good tip on the running the backwards thing. Yeah, that's a good tip. It is easier on the calf, definitely. John Pico Jones, what's up, my friend? I think he's just a new channel member as well. Nice to see you, Coach. Nice to see you too, my friend. If one is to fight a larger opponent with a similar style, how would that shorter fighter mitigate the height reach advantage? Switch styles or tactics? Thank you. Can you ask at the end of the day, very seldom are people like the exact styles, but it would then be a switch of, you could say tactics or you could say styles, right? I get, am I right now? My brain is about to blow up and about itself because I'm thinking styles and tactics, right? You could say styles being an infighter, right? Swarmer, tactics, getting on the inside, swarming, right? So generally though, if you have two guys that are, let's say, both like inside fighters, generally they're going to play to their strengths and fight on the inside. And it kind of gets determined by who's the better inside fighter. Now, if someone's bigger, like you're talking about, then obviously that bigger person, if they are actually as skilled, is going to have the advantage. If they're not as, they're going to have a disadvantage, possibly, right? Now, this is where it's important that when someone wants to fight their fight, you fight a different fight and you impose your fight. So, for instance, when you want to fight on the inside, that's when you fight on the inside. And when you feel them wanting to do what they want to do, let's say it's fight on the inside, you don't let them. You move in your box. Or when they want to box and move, then you cut down the ring on and put them in a corner, right? Put them in positions that they don't feel comfortable in, no matter what style they are, right? You guys can both be the same style, like Doug Jones and Bob Foster right here in this fight. Great example, John Jones. Very similar styles. There's nothing that different about these guys, And again, you can try to berate me and saying, like, obviously they're different fighters, but a lot of similar styles, but they're both boxing. They're both, jabbing, doing all the foundationals. But that's a great question. Woke up champ. If that is the case, what can I do to replace road work to build my cardio for competition? Yes. There are so many things. One thing that I really love a lot, is Jacob's ladder. Okay. That is something that I have had some of my guys use, and it's been of great benefit. If you don't know what that is, let me see if I can pull that. Screw it. I will leave this fight running, but Jacob's ladder, look up that. That's a great one that I love a lot. Man, that's one of my big tips for you, my friend. I'm really big on the amount of exertion that takes, and it's easier on the calves and everything else. A lot of people don't have access to it, though. So swimming, bicycling is about the least, but it is one. It is one to do. Maybe a salt bike. Coach, I'm a Joe Louis fan. So am I. And I noticed, also read in his book, he ducks bending forward from the waist. Why isn't this taught anymore? Is it not look as useful? Great question, Bit. Well, I would make the argument it is taught, man. So, coach I'm friends with in Decatur, Mustafa, has a big social media following. He's really big on bending at the waist, really big. You look at Tom Yankello, right? He's really big on bending on the waist. So it's still something that's there. But now it's not taught as much because there are a lot more answers for it now. Nowadays, it's a lot more tolerated for people and understood for people to push down or lean down on someone bending at the waist. And so therefore, like how Rocky did it, right? Like how Rocky Marciano did it. And therefore you don't see it as much because a lot of times referees and whatnot will, like here, we just saw Bob Jones bending at the waist. Bob Jones. Bob Foster bending at the waist. And it's still something useful. I mean, it's a little bit of a throwback move, and it's something that has use to it, but there are answers to it. Truly, the answer bit is that not every boxing coach is going to teach everything. Now, I say that in a way that's making it sound like you shouldn't teach everything, but you should teach everything that's useful, and it definitely is something that's useful. It has its uses, but since the way amateur boxing is, the bending at the waist gets ingrained out of people because the head gets a little bit low, and people, like I said, people down or put people down when they're in that position, and the ref will oftentimes tell someone to put their head up. So more often than not, sometimes it's the amateur base that's built that is affecting a lot of this stuff and making some of it get thrown away or get kept. And so really we need to change amateur boxing, right? I'm going to take a stance. I'm kind of in one of those moods today where it's like I'm just super raw and uncut. I might start swearing here in a second. But man, amateur boxing, it's hurt boxing a lot. It is one of the primary reasons why boxing is not what it was, could be, would be with the right amateur boxing program. Just being honest. RGK, could you speak about self-training? Because that is what I currently do, because I do not have, because I'm not good financially and I want to train to go pro, but I'm 16 and I'm just lost on what to do. Well, it's great and important to coach, but I recommend getting a training partner. Again, just like answering your question where you're coming from. Get a training partner, someone that is willing to progress with you. And, and also too, if they slack, then dump them to the curb and screw them. But get a training partner to train with so you guys can kind of watch each other and you kind of know what to look for. Just make sure your training partner's not an idiot. Now also though too, shameless plug here, but for like $5 or $6, you can send me your training video and I can give you tips, everything else. All right. So just keep that in mind. All right. Promise you I'm not saying that just so you can pay me $5, but I'm just saying it's a consideration. Now, shadow box, film yourself, watch yourself, because as you watch my content and other people's content on video on YouTube, they know what the hell they're talking about. You'll learn a lot. But since you don't have someone to coach you, you film yourself with your phone, right? We all have one of these nowadays. You didn't have this back in the day, man. You had to buy a video camera. That sucked, right? But now you can film yourself. It's so amazing nowadays, guys, right? I mean, I didn't have this when I boxed. You can film yourself now and freaking video yourself, put it up on a screen, watch yourself on your phone, and holy crap, you get to take the knowledge that you're learning here on YouTube and all the you're looking and see yourself, doing this stuff. Now, remember, focus on basics. The more you can just perfect the basic stance, the basic jab, basic defense, putting punches together, the basic head movement, man, you'll be golden, get in great shape. That's going to take you real far. I've seen a lot of guys, win a lot of amateur fights by basically doing that, like training in their garage, okay? You don't have to have some expert coach to do it, frankly. It can help, but it can also not matter. And this is coming from a coach. The people pay to train them. So Joshua Faith, hey, what do you recommend for road work? I gas and sparring, but run 3 to 5 times a week. Thanks, coach. Well, I'm going to say one thing there, my friend Joshua, one thing. You are probably too tight when you spar. Not breathing enough, or you're just too tense, right? So a few things. One is just get more rounds in. I know that's like almost bad advice, but just get more rounds in so you push and break past the wall so you know what getting past the wall feels like. Because right now, what is gas to you is not gas to someone else that knows how to get through the wall, all right? If you experience this running where you're running, your body's like, holy, I have to stop. But in actuality, you can keep going, okay? The same thing happens with boxing. It's like what Mike Tyson said, who will be fighting this weekend, that, if you can go 4 rounds or 3 rounds. You can go 5 rounds, 5 rounds. You can go 8 rounds, 8 rounds. You can go 10 rounds. Whatever. It's a lot of it's mental to a degree, and that's why I've had fighters that pro fighters that have gone to jail came out and were not in shape, but right off the street and not training can do 6 rounds. Not because they're in great shape. They know the ring. They know how to relax, and that is very paramount. That's why how and why you have guys that are seemingly not in the best of shape be able to do a lot of work in the ring or more work than you can, right? So it's not a trick of, it could be a trick of road work, but it's really not. It's really not. It's a trick of you getting more time in the ring and relaxing more, and pushing past. Now, a safer way than sparring, which means you could also get hit and get hurt, is what we would do for me, because I had the same problem, is we do 12-round workout, and then the last few rounds, the person that was my conditioning coach, Robbie, he would put on a body pad, come at me with the body pad and kind of throw easy punches at me, and I would try to fight him off on the body pad. And this is after 12 rounds. So I'm exhausted, but now my body has to learn how to operate while being exhausted. And that's another way you can push through the barrier that you're dealing with right now. Great question. I found that shadow boxing super hard with 16-ounce gloves on for at least 30 minutes builds more power and strength than hitting the heavy bag for hours. Little novel, you're a smart man. I know you touched on this before. Do you agree? Yes. Because throwing punches and missing punches with 16-ounce gloves is much more like how your sparring is going to be and your fights are going to be than hitting a heavy bag. Hitting a heavy bag is easy. Dude, I can hit a heavy bag for 30 minutes, and I'm not in fight shape. You're a smart man. Real human being, 99. From a self-defense perspective, what are some simple tactics to set up an accurate shot on a layman or someone relatively untrained and hopefully not break your hand? There's always a possibility you break your hand because some people tell them hit him in the body, but if you hit an elbow accidentally, well, an untrained person is probably going to raise their hands up too high, so they don't have to even worry about an elbow. But to me, the jab for the jaw, right for the jaw, you probably won't break your hand. Their head will be like this, neutral, and you step with that jab, you snap that jab like I talked about in the last video, and you're going to buzz the hell out of them and hurt them. All right? Work on that jab. Sharu, what's up, champ? Coach, glad to see you. Glad to see you too, my friend. My question is out of all the aggressive style boxers, which do you think was the best? Again, man, like, dude, it's a great question. I'm just like, I get so semantical, man. Again, like I was going to consider being a lawyer when I stopped boxing. But I mean, the list is far too long because most great boxers are aggressive, right? So it's whatever flavor you have. I have a special place in my heart for Henry Armstrong, special place in my heart for Joe Frazier. And so those are very similar styles, obviously, because Joe Frazier mimicked a lot of Henry Armstrong. I lean towards those. And then you Dwight Muhammad Quaid too. But you can think of him more as a counterpuncher, but he's very aggressive. Appreciate it. Yes, I appreciate you, my friend. Also, remember, guys, drop a super thanks. It really helps support the channel. Buy me a cup of coffee. It does help. It does help. Let me get another fight here rolling up. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, here, we're going to do the, interesting. Had another one here that I was like, oh, that's a good one. Oh, yeah, Floyd Patterson fight. Let's see, Floyd Patterson versus Tommy Jackson. Let's do that one. Because no matter how much I rag on peekaboo style, there's a lot of great things. All right. Okay, John. To deal with a lightning fast jab, is the right approach to have your rear hand in front of your face as to catch it already, or move the head? I find countering a fast jab with a 2 to be difficult. Yes. Well, okay, so there's a give and a take. Encountering the fast with the 2, really, honestly, the best, man, think about it. The most important punch in boxing is the jab. The most important counter in boxing, John, is the jab. okay, that it's the most important counter punch, right? So it's the most important aggressive punch is the jab, just to give you some boxing philosophy here. And the most important counter punch is the jab. So you have that right hand in front of your face for the fast jab. Because head movement, it's going to be hard to get away from that fast jab. It just is. You can do it, but it can be hard. This is a little bit easier thing to do. And then you counter with the jab. Counter with the jab, maybe counter with a left hook, but typically a lot of jabs. And use the jab to counter the jab. Keep the right hand in front of the face, mix in head movement here and there, like we're about to see Floyd Patterson do. But definitely off that fast jab because, you know, when you're moving the head, a fast jab or at least a good fast jabber is going to track you for where you're going. And when you're out at the longer range of their jab, you're catching the jab, and if they step in with the hook, you have at least a little bit of time to react and to hit them with the jab as they do it, right? Great question. Is Holyfield considered great? I consider Holyfield aggressive. Sorry. Aggressive. Yeah, Holyfield is aggressive. Like I said, most great fighters are aggressive. Most great fighters are not Floyd Mayweather. And to be clear, I'm not casting shade on Floyd Mayweather. He's a great fighter, greatest fighter of his generation. Most great fighters are generally aggressive, and Evander Holyfield is a great aggressive fighter. And he's one that, you know, I say a lot of times don't watch heavyweights, but I disagree with myself in terms of being a fan of Joe Louis and Holyfield for the foundation and the fundamentals that they teach us with the way that they fight. Because a lot of people told me that, in their opinion, Holyfield didn't have a lot of promise when he started out boxing. And it was through building a good, solid foundation that he did, right? Forward grappling. Grateful, as always, for your post. Thank you, sir. You have been very useful. Thank you. What facet of boxing do you think is the most underutilized? Man, forward grappling, that's a great question. Oh, man. I'm sorry. I got to jump to Sharu 2.0 with the $5. Hey, coach. Man, that's awesome, my friend. I'm gonna jump back to you, my friend. Hey, coach, what are the pros and cons of having long arms? I have long arms in boxing. Well, let me tell you, my friend, with long arms, Sharu, long arms in boxing, life is easy. Life is easy. And I'm not trying to play a tiny violin for woe is me and be a victim for being, 5'8" when I boxed 65 and a 68-inch reach. But life is easy, man. My first Golden Glove champion, Jamarcus Polane. You can look him up on BoxRec. He's an undefeated pro fighter at this time. He was super long arms, or just long, lanky, and it was easy, man. He could fight just spastically, meaning someone comes at him, he just lets his hands, like someone said to his range, he just lets his hands. A lot of the heavyweights he fought on the state scene were kind of shorter and tubby. And he's an athlete with long arms or just longer reach than they did. And he could just, right? So it's a pro because you get to sit up on top of that proverbial hill and shoot at people versus having to be the short guy, which has to battle up the hill. Okay, the short guy typically has to battle up the hill. Now there's times that, like I have a shorter fighter, Harold, and he did a masterful job in one fights of luring the sniper out of his perch, out of his crow's nest, onto the battlefield and catching him. But, more often than not, you got to get after it and run through the minefields. So longer. You're fortunate. Work the jabs. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 1 1 1 1. Just that. Like a freaking, basically like you're doing whatever it is, 0 0 0 0 0 1, right? Blanking on what the hell that's called. But doing that with your ones and twos. Because there's no zeros in boxing. All right. Grateful as always for your posts. So most underutilized. Hand defense. And the jab. Okay, just to be super gosh, that's an uninteresting answer, but the truth is sometimes not interesting. The jab, but also hand defense. Hand defense is not taught a lot, in my opinion. It was definitely taught way more back in the day. And that is essentially the style that I still coach because I believe there's a lot of philosophical benefits to it and stylistic benefits to it, Right. Astute. Thank you. Thank you, John. Appreciate you, my friend. Um, See, I got back to you. I got back to you. Right. So I appreciate the cup of coffee that Shrew got me, but I got right back to you, man. Consider buying me a cup of coffee, man. I got one for tomorrow. Thank you. John, what sort of style or approach have you found to be effective against big body punching peekaboo style fighters? Man, this Floyd Patterson fight, speaking of peekaboo fighters, hasn't even started yet. No wonder this fight is so long. God, there we go. Goodness gracious. All right. So, effective against big body punching peekaboo style fighters. What sort of approach have you found? Yes. So, really, a little bit more of the fencer style approach of that probing jab that jabs their shoulders, jabs their chest, sticks out that stick. You know, almost um, think a little bit almost of like a Lennox Lewis type style, right? Which is really like a Tommy Hearns ish combination. Um, and so that jab that's halfway out there that plays interference with a lot of what they're trying to do, so they can't get set, and you're turning them laterally in circles, running into right hands and things of that nature, and it shuts down the head movement a lot, right? And like you see here with Jackson jabbing against Floyd Patterson, there's absolutely opportunities that he has to if he were to leave his arm out a little bit and control the head, right? Which is just not something that was done a lot back then. And that's where boxing in certain ways has evolved. A lot of old time people are rolling in their grave, or man, beautiful by Floyd right there. But there's certain ways that boxing has evolved as a sport. There's certain ways it's gone backwards as a sport in a sense, or really just better said, changed as a sport as people have changed. Man, great question. But yeah, that jab that disrupts and annoys the hell out of people. Again, think about like a Lennox Lewis type jab. Great question, my friend. Like I said before, consider being like Shrew and dropping a coffee bomb, right? Great questions. Floyd Patterson's a guy I watched a lot of coming up. My father and I both, because of the explosiveness and the way he put his combos together. Because again, jabs, chin down, putting the punches together is what helps you become a good fighter, right? It's a short path to becoming a good fighter, or the most direct path. Am I a fan of Jose Napoles? I've been watching his bouts against Cokes and Griffith, and how he hooks off his jab into his two is so aesthetic. Yeah, man, does a lot of great stuff. Let's be very clear, man. I'm largely not a fan of anybody anymore, right? Or whatever. I try not to be. I used to be a big fan of certain guys. Never was really a big fan of him, but never was a hater. Just haven't, frankly, watched a lot of his stuff for one reason or the other, because there's so many other guys. Definitely did have a bias to watching American fighters. So it's like even Julio Cesar Chavez, I didn't watch much of him when I boxed. I think honestly what got me out of watching him was I had some VHSs of him, and I was watching him like before the first time I traveled sparred, right? Sparred at another gym that I wasn't used to, and got my ass beat. And I think I just kind of vibed those two things together. It took me a long time until I was a boxing coach when I started watching Chavez again, because I think it just got stuck in my brain, those two things that did not correlate together. Great question, man. But so he does a great hook off of the jab to set up the right hand. That's excellent. That's like I was going to do, or I plan to probably do a training review of Emmanuel Stewart working with French, I think his name is. I forget what his name is, but George, John, something like that. I know the guy, just forgetting what the hell he is. But anyway, there was some good things, or obviously a ton of good things I want to talk about. Oh yeah, Jeff French. And one thing that made me think about it was like you're talking about, the jab turned into a hook with the right hand. That's one of those like just basic classic things that you don't see taught too much. I'm sure people do teach it, but it's just you don't see it a lot, and you see Emmanuel working it really nice. Also, Emmanuel works the pads very, very sharp and purposeful, versus a lot of times, depending what type of boxing gym you're in, even a serious boxing gym, people just kind of burn out on mitts, right? Just, 1, 2, 1, 2, uppercut, uppercut, a punch, right? And they don't even move around, right? You don't even move around. You don't even do the greatest thing you can do with it. Man, great shot by Floyd Patterson right there, which is works on his defense as they're in between punches and things like that to get them to blend the two together, right? Because, a good mitt holder and good mitt work can enlarge, in many ways, mimic a fight. When one of my fighters fought a former world champion and gold medalist, and we just came up short on a decision, but this guy was a gigantic power puncher, who only lost to Joe Kawasaki and Roy Jones Jr. at his best. Man, we didn't do any sparring for that. We just did mitt work, body pad and mitt work, combined together. And that largely helped him mold his style to what it needed to be to be successful, or, to be as successful as he could be. It wasn't our night. We didn't get the decision, but we boxed very well. I was very proud of him, and I feel like doing the mitt work we did in preparation for that is what led us to that. And if it just would have been sparring, he would have got stuck in some of his old patterns, which made him too vulnerable to someone who is a big power puncher and a former world champion. Paul Dieni, what are your thoughts on switch hitting? There's a lot of good uses. I see a lot of beginners try to do it and falling. Hey, yes. My favorite boxers are Marvin Hagler and Terence Crawford. Outliers that master it at the pro level. Yes. Now, it's one of those things where what I'm big on, this is my philosophy, the foundation needs to be built, right? So let's build the foundation first so people can throw punches and be on balance. That's something that Jack Blackburn, Joe Lewis's coach, was very big about. Throwing punches and being on balance, right? Missing and being on balance, right? Which is really what it comes down to, because we can throw punches and be off balance. And what does it matter? It only matters when we miss, right? So be able to miss punches and be on balance. But once you have that down, then we can incorporate other things. Throwing in different positions, throwing quote unquote out of position, throwing and sometimes leaning because we do have a mastery of our balance, throwing in switch hitting and things like that. Depending, one of the greatest things in my opinion you can do is if you have someone up against the ropes or up against the corner and they step to the side of you, you go after them in your whatever stance is available. So if I'm you and I'm orthodox, go off to my right side, I can aggress after you in a southpaw stance. And that's very effective, very effective. Or the opposite coin of that is if we're moving, away from someone, and you're able to switch as you're moving, there's a great benefit. But to your point, beginners will try to do it prematurely, right? People try to do crap prematurely. That's, again, like what I talked about in the jab video, right? People will try to do throwaway jabs when they're not even they don't even have their own jab down completely. And now they're doing throwaway jabs. And so now all they do is a throw jab. And it's just nonsense. So, that's why, for instance, I'm not too big on encouraging people to just be fast when they first start training boxing and learn how to box. Because if you learn how to just be fast, you throw a lot of sloppy punches. But if we throw proper punches that have some power on them while being on balance and everything else, and, being fundamentally sound, then through proficiency of movement comes technique, right? And now we're good. Now we can be faster, right? Versus only being fast and being sloppy. Great question. John Pico Jones got me a cup of coffee for that $1.99. Thank you, brother. Just as a thanks. Yes. I appreciate it, my friend. I appreciate it a lot. But so that Paul Diani, that's the rationale on that. So like you're saying, man, you got beginners that they're not ready to do it yet. They're not ready. Not everyone can do it. That's okay, right? And some people up earlier than others. But with me as a coach, it is something that I used to be against it. Right? Part of the old school philosophy is it was a lot of focus on basics all the time and never any of the nuanced stuff that there is sometimes a more focus on now in some ways. As people have gotten more varied with their approach to boxing and their boxing philosophies. But it, there's a use to it. Like I was just talking about last night with somebody about the idea of let's say you're an orthodox stance and you cross over with the right hand. So now it turns into a jab, and then you shoot a lead hook with that lead right hand off of it. Catches people very nicely. I had this one fighter came down to me from Rhode Island to work with me, and he had 5 amateur fights, ended up going pro, and he did that move very naturally. And it was funny. That was actually about the time that I was still locked into not approving of my guys switch hitting too much. And it was so funny, man, because his first fight with me as an amateur was like fight number 6, I think, for him. He fought this guy that I had worked with, a really tough Hispanic guy, Carlos. And I've seen Carlos spar some of my hardest hitting guys and never get dropped, right? Bigger guys and never get dropped and take big shots, just a typical tough, big blockhead guy. And, forward grappler. Boom. Let me finish my part real quick, my friend. And so anyway, in this fight, it was so funny. So again, I was still on the fence about switch hitting and things like that. And this kid I'm working with, Anthony, is really talented. Anyway, going against this guy that I know is very tough. He's not, doesn't have a glass jaw. Dude, this guy in an amateur fight, my guy Anthony, drops Carlos from Southpaw and then knocks him out from orthodox. And I was just like, all right. Okay, Anthony, well, I guess you can switch it. I guess you proved to me that you can, because you just knocked him down. This guy that I've never seen really get knocked down, I don't think ever, from a headshot. You knocked him down from one stance, knocked him out from the other stance. All right. You win that argument. See, I'm happy to be proven wrong. All right. Fort, thank you, my friend. Cup of coffee, man. It's good. I drink about 4 cups of coffee a day, so you guys are hooking me up just right. Thank you. What about how bad clinching has gotten now? Yes. I hope you're not setting me up for, something, but man, dude, it's a thing. And that's one thing that I'm really proud about is, or really pleased with, is the officials in Florida for the pro fights, like for Pro Box, because they're doing a lot of those fights in Florida now. And a lot of those officials, man, they are on point. Referees, rather. I mean, they're officials, but, to be precise, they're on point on that. I can tell they're having that conversation that I've been in the dressing room on when I've had guys fight in Florida on pro fights, where it's like, hey, look, you guys holding, I'm going to give you a warning, then a point, then a DQ. I can tell they're having those conversations in the dressing room, which you should have. These referees, I don't know. I feel like they don't have that conversation, right? A good referee is an authority in the ring, and they have to enforce this sport of boxing. And excessive clinching is absolutely a problem. It is illegal according to the Association of Boxing Commissions, and it doesn't make for good fights. Nobody likes it. I'm sure you can name me one person that likes it. All right, but they should watch grappling. Which, again, grappling is great, but that's not what we're here to watch. We're here to watch boxing, punches, like we see in this fight right here. 2 guys going at it, and that's exciting. That's entertainment, and that's boxing. That's what makes boxing great. Man, great point, my friend. As a wrestler and someone who trains MMA, seeing Henny get away with this, yeah. And because his dad's got a lot of money. Okay, and that's one thing. You didn't have this back in the day. You didn't have these dads with money back in the day. That's something that's changed with boxing. That's something that's changed. Is you didn't have these dads that had built this money and then try to get their sons in the boxing. Right? Back in the day, it was guys coming from where Floyd Patterson's coming from, where all these guys are coming from. And they don't have daddy with the money like Haney did. And a lot of these guys, man, I don't want to name wrong, but Haney is one person I can definitely name. And there's a few other ones, right, which I don't want to say the names because I might be wrong in naming them, but because I might not be correct on my facts on that, but I know I'm correct on that fact. But yeah, the A side getting that star treatment, and also back in the day, man, there were bad decisions, and boxing was mobbed up, but man, just the A side thing has been a problem forever with boxing. And that's why Turki Al-Sheikh doing his even fights that he does, because he's got so much darn money to make sure both fighters get paid to come and they don't have any more excuses, has been a game changer. Sharu, rocking me out with another cup of coffee, my friend. Thank you. How important is talent? What is talent in boxing? Man. How important is talent? I mean, talent is big, because I've seen guys have all of the work ethic and put all of the things to boxing that they need to put in, but they just lack that little bit of talent that someone else has that's willing to put in a lot of the same work. Okay. And, it's just, you can overcome a lot. And you can be seemingly untalented and become seemingly talented. All right. So that's a great question, my friend. So we tend to judge whether someone's talented or untalented too soon, in my opinion. Obviously it's easy to judge talent soon, right? So you can have someone come in the gym for a couple days or a couple weeks or a couple months, and you're like, man, this person's so talented. All right. But over time, talent can be revealed. And I have seen that happen. All right. Now, I have also seen over time talent be unrevealed. Right. Somebody that was seemingly talented in the beginning, but their threshold of that talent has maxed out. Okay. Their level of talent, and maybe it's because they're actually riding talent the whole time. Right. They weren't actually putting in this work here that you can't see. Right. I remember I've had guys that have come to me that have trained at other gyms for a long time. They come to me, they got 15, 16 fights, and they're not going anywhere. And you can tell when they're in the gym, they're not going anywhere, because you can tell their eyes are glazed over when they're working the bag. Their eyes are glazed over when they're shadow boxing. They're complacent. They're not hungry. Okay? They're not driven. All right? So talent, very important. Drive, almost equally as important, if not more important. At least hard to quantify, but it's a great question. John, how much respect should we give to our opponent and their power/skill? Well, just speaking in generalities, it's a thing where I find people respect people too much, right? So that's just the thing that I've experienced and seen, is fighters respecting other fighters too much, playing it too safe, being too conservative. That is generally what happens and generally what I see. Now, are there outliers that you actually need to respect your opponent more and be more careful? Yes, I've definitely seen that too. Okay. But in general, thinking of people as they progress in their boxing journey, they are a little bit too fearful and a little bit too cautious. And that's one thing, again, that makes the fighters, like with this video here that we're watching, who they were. And of those times where, man, dude, no one cared about you getting clout on social media or someone grabbing a clip and posting it, man. I know there's so many fighters, man. There's this one fighter that had a lot of talent in Atlanta, and he got on the butt end of getting knocked out in sparring, and this guy posted it and everything else. And then it happened again with another guy. And it's like, dude, that stuff, you would never see that stuff back in the day. And it makes people be too cautious, I think, because you make a mistake, the whole world might see it, like on YouTube. And, it's boxing a little bit. Great question. And remember, guys, the next one of this I'm doing is going to be on Monday, November 25th at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. But, one thing, let's see here. Bam. Forward grappling. Why has the stance in boxing gotten so much wider generally? That's a great question. I would chalk it up largely to a little bit of the amateur influences of bouncing in and out, right? That kind of fencer style. Now, also, though, too, it's all about, man, I just look at these two guys going at it. It's all about, as well, the who's been predominant or who was predominant at the time. So if you watch like when Muhammad Ali was really up there, you saw a lot of guys mimic that, and then that carried over to the years following, right? So and you saw that with Mike Tyson. You see that with a lot of just different fighters in different eras. You saw that with Joe Louis, and so whoever is the people at the top that people are focusing on, they'll mimic, and that's where people like Floyd Mayweather, when he would move, and a lot of times he would be a little higher with his stance, but sometimes he would splay out his stance a lot. And during that time, I think people like Zab Judah and stuff like that, they would get pretty spread with their stance. And it's one of those things, though, that people naturally do. That if you're not focused on the advantages and disadvantages, you'll just do it, right? When you box, people spread out. At least that's what I've noticed. People spread out naturally. And it's something that you have to work on, just like people are tight naturally, and you have to work on that. People blink naturally. People push punches typically naturally, and you have to work on it. And certain times when Floyd Mayweather would just be stationary, he would splay out, and because he's just going to sit there and get a little bit lower from it, and you kind of relax. You just get a stretch from it. And that is what it is, because he's not planning to move it. So sometimes it has to do with who's in the popular, who's out there, who's the famous person. Because like I saw a few of my guys mimicking Devin Haney, right? And now you wouldn't want to mimic, according to the popular vernacular, you'd be like, oh man, I don't want to mimic Devin Haney. Jeez, that was kind of embarrassing. But for a while there, he was a pretty hot prospect or whatever. And so a lot of people would mimic him, let's say. So yeah, I think it goes down to something's not getting enforced in the gym as much as they should, just to kind of take something off of so it's not me saying it. Let me take what Roy Jones said, right? Roy Jones said, nowadays, typically you go into a boxing gym in America and you see guys just training. There's really no teaching going on. There's no correction. You got a bunch of trainers. My father's coach, Chuck Bodak, if you call him a trainer, he'd get pissy and tell you to shut the hell up. And don't call him that, because a trainer works with wild animals. Versus like, Jones says you go to a lot of these gyms, and whether it's Europe or, different areas like that, and they're actually teaching. And that's why their level of fighters have gone up. So it's been a kind of a reversal. And I don't know how much that holds true still, but I mean, I definitely held true for long enough and for enough time in boxing that's had a great effect. Where now you have these Eastern Bloc fighters coming up now because they've worked on a lot of technique and things like that. They're not just training conditioning mindlessly like they used to. And now more of the American fighters are. All right. And then also these guys are more disciplined and they're more hungry than a lot of these American fighters. We're getting fat. We're getting lazy. Right. And we're getting beat over the head with too many opportunities. An easy street. All right. John. Thank you so much for the answer, Coach. Your time is valuable. I really appreciate it. Yes, thank you. These Q&As extend farther than you may realize. Thank you, my friend. Do you happen to see my jab posting question? No, man, I missed it. I apologize. Oh, here we go. In using the fencing approach, I've been countered at the top with the right. When people get the read on me posting my arm out, any advice? Now, my question for you is length. What length? What length? What length? So are we doing this from a long out range, or are we doing this from a little close? Are we doing this to people that are our own height, shorter arms than us, or longer arms than us? That's my question. If they are longer than you or around your reach, then absolutely this can be a problem. All right. Now, granted, there's always an answer for everything. So you have the posting like jab, get better at this cross block, catching that the right hand over. That's something Evander Holyfield is very good at. Not that he posts a lot with the jab, but cross catching the right hand over. Some of my most favorite defensive fighters, very good at this move, whether it's Dwight Muhammad Kwai, like I said, or Evander Holyfield, like I said, and very, 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 very helpful. But don't do it to people that have longer arms than you, or anything else than that. And then also, you can also just be ready to raise to get it in the way. Perhaps put it in the way of the right hand. All right. That's another possibility as well that can be very beneficial. But let's get good at that backhand, John Jones. Let's get good at that backhand and being able to catch the shot coming over. So here I'm posting that, controlling you, being able to get across to stop that shot. They shoot that right hand. You have a left hook now. You have a left uppercut. You have a left hook to the body, right? And it's a great answer, man. That could be a great answer for you. We got about 5 more minutes left before I wrap it up. Really appreciate everyone's participation and everything else, and support, man. Because gosh, a year ago, I didn't, like I mentioned, start off this this live Q&A with, man, I was doing short content. Then I started taking deep dives. I honestly, not to underestimate people out here, but I didn't realize people would appreciate them as much as they have, and they've appreciated it a lot. And I've been shocked by the level of appreciation. And then when people say, like, man, this long form deep dive stuff that doesn't have a bunch of bullshit on it, yeah, it's been a pleasant surprise. So I really appreciate you guys. Let's see here. Do you think a cross guard has any relevance in the modern game? I mean, it does, because, like, just to kind of go with your term here, like if you watch my video on guards, right, I talk about how in some ways the idea of a guard in boxing is just not the most useful idea. But to that point, if cross guard means having that right hand to cross over, right, over a lower left hand, then absolutely, it definitely has a place with amateurs and with pros, but definitely with pros. And it's something you see in some ways making a comeback, right, or getting more popular. Have you watched my video on I just put in the chat on guards? Check that out, because that is where I go deeper into that idea, and it's helpful. It's helpful, I think, to kind of know what it, at least through my experience, what's the most beneficial for different fighters to view it as. But simple answer, yes. Getting that right hand across your face over a little lead hand that protects the body can be a very, very effective move. There's some great shots there by Floyd Patterson, right? Look at that. That's what I love about, look at that short hook combination. And again, this is something, again, I rag on peekaboo style, but putting the punches together on the inside, so beneficial and important for your success as a fighter. Doubling up on the left hand right there. And remember a cute story, probably you guys have heard this before, but Patterson's father would hear him in the bathroom late at night making noises. He thought he was doing something, pleasuring himself, and actually he was just punching the metal chain that you'd use on the light to turn on and off in the middle of the night, because he was that passionate about boxing. And it takes that type of passion to get going into it, but then also you need to be consistent with it, right? And have that committed mindset. All right, guys, we're running up close to the end. If you got any cups of coffee you want to buy me before we close out, I appreciate it. Or any amazing banger questions to finish as we finish out this Floyd Patterson versus Jackson fight. Another video I'm going to be putting out soon is a boxing trivia video, right? Thought it might be a fun thing. We could do a fun thing like that on one of these lives one times, like a boxing trivia. Have everyone in the chat lock in their answers. I kind of like, though, the idea of doing it on a video. So like post-op, you can just like be honest and put it in, whether or not it's because if you see it in the chat, then you see the answer, right? But that's a thought that I have moving forward. All right, guys, if you haven't already, all guys in here I know are liked and subscribed, but if you haven't already, make sure you check out my latest video on the jab, right? Mastering the jab. That was James Johnson that recommended that as an idea. And it's like, geez, sometimes the greatest answer are the most obvious answers. Oh, here we go. One to wrap it up from forward grappling. And we'll close out with this one. Have you done one on the overhand? I have not done a video on that. Tim Witherspoon posted a great one a few years ago. Man, for some reason that rings a bell. I feel like I've seen this video. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. I don't spend a lot of time on YouTube, but cool. That's one to think about. That's one to think about. I know this one coach we'll call that grandma punch because it's like kind of like hitting someone with a handbag. That was a secret name for it. He talks about dropping his shoulder. Interesting. Ooh, man, this might be a nuance that I want to touch on for grappling. I'll take a picture of this to close out of one that I will strongly consider doing a video on. Boom. Thank you for that tip, right? And with that, I will say bye-bye. Enjoy your Monday night, guys. Look out for my next video coming up soon, which I have a few things in the pipeline planned. And watch out for the next live coming up November 25th, the week of Thanksgiving, Monday, 9:30 p.m. And I'm going to get some sleep. All right, guys. Bye, everybody. See you later.